back to Kirklees Guitar School. So today, as promised, I'm going to break down the entire Hotel California solo. So, thank you so much for your continued support. I'm not going to go on about it for too long, but it's really important to me that this is getting out to plenty of you and that you're finding it useful. So thank you for sticking along the journey, and here's to the next couple of thousand. Right, so a couple of caveats before we start today's lesson. It's a long one. Make yourself a cup of tea. It's going to take you a while to get through it all. Pause the video where you need to and you feel like you need a little bit of space to digest it. Also, at the first link in the description, there's a full transcription of this that you can download and print off for free from our Facebook group. Completely free, don't want anything from you, but this is definitely one of those where you need to be going along with it printed out with a pencil as well. Okay, so thank you for your continued support. Let's get into today's class. So this solo is under the assumption that this is how I'd play. When I play this in bands, I've got to do both parts at the same time. So this solo is an amalgamation of both Don Felder's and what's his face's part. Okay, now I think I've taken a little bit of artistic license here or there, and I'll explain why as I go along. But this is as faithful as I can get without physically being in two places at the same time. So let's get into it. I'm using the neck pickup on the Les Paul with a little bit of crunch, not too much, and a bit of the tone rolled off on the neck pickup. Okay, so I'm going to start middle finger. I'm going to start on the 3rd fret of the G, and I'm going to do a really big slide from here. As soon as I pluck that 3rd fret, I want to be going and sliding up to this 11th fret here. Now I'm not hanging on that 3. As soon as I pluck it, I'm sliding up. Okay, and you want to hear, it's what we call a glissando. We don't want to hear, I don't want to hear the steps of the frets. It all wants to be one smooth motion. Now we're using his middle finger there because I'm going to catch the 10th fret with the index finger of the B string and then hammer onto the 12th. Now, as soon as I've hammered that note, can you see how we've got a tie that goes into the next bar down here? And while we're still holding on to that note, I'm going to then bend it, and you see over here, it says 1.5. I'm going to bend it. I'm bending that 12th fret, which is a B note, so much so that it sounds like I'm a fret and a half above. Sorry, 3 frets above. 1.5 steps. It's the American bastardization of music theory. Yeah. Ba, 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 ba. I'm then going to quietly bring that down, pick the 10 and the 12 again, and then I'm going to do a position shift and hit that 9th fret on the B string, on the G, sorry. So that's one good chunk. Pause if you need to there. That's one good chunk to get under your fingers. I'm then going to take my ring finger, moving on, take my ring finger up to the 12th fret of the D string. Then I'm going to play 9 and 11 on the G. And I'll probably catch that 12 again with my pinky there. It's quite slippery, is this? It's up and down the neck a lot, and you'll find that sometimes in one phrase you'll play the same note with differing fingers. So I'm starting with finger 3, finger 1, finger 3, and then finger 4 again. Or you could use your ring finger, I suppose. After you've played that D note, we're going to catch the 8th fret. Now that is supposed to be quite an abrasive note. I'm going to come up a fret and I'm going to hammer on and pull between the 9 and the 12, and then pull off back to the 9. I'm then going to do a position shift down to fret number 7 on the same string. We're still on the D string. I'm going to pluck it and I'm just going to bend it a semitone. You see how it says half? It's a half step bend, and I'm bending it just so it sounds like that fret next door. Want to play the whole thing before I move on? Pause the video if you need to. And I've worked this out where this is the whole first line at the top of the PDF. So this is the whole first row of the side of A4 that we've got. Moving on to the second row. We're going to do a position shift down to, we're in B minor pentatonic here. And it's all based around, the next couple of bars are all based around that shape. So I'm going to hammer on from 7 to 9. Index and then ring finger. I'm then going to roll the finger down and go 7 on the B and then 7 on the G. I'm gonna do 9th fret of the D string, and I'm gonna pull off to 8 and then hammer back on. Seven, 9, 7, 7, 9, 8, 9. And then the other half of the bar is exactly the same apart from how it ends. So you've got hammer on between 7 and 9. 7, 7. Now instead of going 9, 8, 9, you're going to go 9, 7, 9, 7. So there's 4 notes instead of like it was over there. It's you just add that extra note. Let me play that whole bar. Again, pause if you need to and go through that bar. If not, we'll have a look at the next bit. Now I'm going to bend this 10th fret, and there's a lot of these kind of pedal steel kind of bends in this solo. It's a really good study into that actually. We're going to bend that 10th fret, but I've also got my middle finger behind it on the 9th fret, and I'm going to use both fingers to push that up. See what I'm doing there? Then I'm going to take my pinky and I'm going to play the 10th fret underneath it. And the 10th fret underneath it is not bent, mind. Yeah, that sort of pedal steel. That's how they get those pedal steel kind of licks, that sort of country guitar thing. So we're bending the 10 on the B, catch the 10 on the high E underneath it. Then I'm going to catch the 10 again, which behind you, the ball's still in the air. And can you see how the bend goes up and then down? And I bring it back down to fret 7. I'm going to hit the 10 and then fret number 8, and there's another one of those cheeky little half step bends. And I'm bending that with my middle finger, and it's a good job it's only an half step because I can barely bend it that far as it is. Now, the next bit, 7, 7, 10, is part of the next lick. So mentally, I want you to just sort of put a divide there, okay? I'm going to play from the beginning up to this. I'm going to stop at that 7, okay? Pause if you need to. That 7 and 10, 7, 7, feeds into the next part. It might just be worth you circling that if you've printed the PDF off as part of the next lick. Okay, so we've got 7, 7, 7 on the high E and the B strings, and then we're going to bend that 10th fret. I'm rolling the index finger over and then bending this dude up. We then bring it back down, bend it up again, and finish on the 7. And then we've got another one of these pedal steel bends, bend on the 10th fret of the B string, 10th fret of the high E string, and then bring it back down. Pause if you need to. What are these funny little crosses here that come up again and again and again? That's a little, it does like a little string mute. You see how I'm touching the string and I just pick that B string. Quick down and an up. Depends how authentic you want to get, but I always try and squeeze them in here. Moving on to the next bar, we're going to bend the 9 with the ring finger, and then I'm going to catch the 10th fret of the high E. I'm then going to bring that 9 back down. See how the ball was still in the air? And then, which is quite unusual, you see how I pulled off to that 7? So the string's already bent, bring it down, and then pull off. I'm over exaggerating that motion. You don't have to be as rough as I am. See how I'm not picking that 7, I'm pulling off with this hand. And there's another cheeky little mute in there. So I go from that first bit of the second bar. I picked it then. I'm then gonna go. Now sometimes I'll hammer on and pull that off. That's just a bad habit creeping in. I'm pretty sure it's slid. Followed by another couple of clicks. Pause the video if you need to. If not, let's go on to slide 4. We're about 10% there, so I hope your cup of tea ain't gone cold already. If so, you might have to pause it and go make another one. I think I'm going to have to in a minute. Right, okay, so this is the 4th line of the PDF. We should be getting towards the end of the first page now. We should be one more after this. We're going to hammer on from 7 to 9 on the high E string, and we're going to do this 7th fret. And you see how I'm bending it? I bend it up first, and then I bend it up and bring it down on the second time. I'm then going to hammer on and pull off between 7 and 9, and then back to 9 on the G. And then you've got 3 more of those. See how we've got 2 bends on the 7s over here, and then 3. You've 3 hammer-ons and pull-offs, but only 2 over here, so they're like borrowing one from each other. That whole first bar. Again, we're still in B minor pentatonic. Second bar. Now this is like a cool little bluesy lick. We're going to bend the 9 of the G, then we're going to play 7 and 10 with index and ring fingers on the B string. Now you can bend that with your ring finger, or sometimes I might do that with my middle finger. I'm then going to bend that note again on the 9th fret of the G, and then I'm going to play 7 and 7 on the B and the high E. And then you're going to bend the 9 back to 7, and then you bend the 9 one last time. That whole second bar. And put the vibrato on when the ball's in the air. Right, let me play all of that before we move on. Try that again, but do it properly. And really go for that big vibrato. I know I say it all the time, but a lot of stuff we've done on the channel recently, like Gary Moore and Thin Lizzy and Santana and stuff like that, when you're doing vibrato, go hard or go home. We don't want this, but we want. Don't be afraid to really like dig that finger into the fret. Right then, pause the video if you need to. If not, let's move on. So this is a continuation of the previous bar. We're still in B minor pentatonic. We're doing that blues lick, so we're bending the 9th fret of the B into the 7th fret and 10th fret of the 9th fret of the G into the 7th and 10th fret of the B. Followed by So you can see how you've got the commonality of the bend on the 9 and the 7. On the first time you go to the 10th fret. On the second time you go to the 7th fret of the high E. Following that, you're going to bend the 9th fret and then hit a bar on the 7th fret twice. And you'll do that again. Now you see how I'm bending with my middle finger? You can use your ring finger either. I think it's because I'm here. I can use either. To be honest, I think your ring finger would be the better and stronger choice there. So we're now here. You're going to bend the 9 and bring it back down. And then pull off to the 7. And then pick it. Followed by... And this last little 9 over here is like a quick... It's like a quick... You pick the note and just slide. It's more a percussive thing than anything else. As long as you get something in there, but I'd opt to travel up rather than down because of where we're going next. Because we've got a really big bend on the 11th fret of the D string. Sorry, G. Next, and you want to kind of... That always caught me by surprise when I was learning this. Let me play the whole thing before we move on. Now you can opt to hang on to that 9 or you can pick it again. I can't really tell. I can't really tell whether they're picking it again or whether... Or he just does a bit of that. To be honest, that's probably how I'd play it because I'm too busy thinking about getting to that this next note on the 11th fret, because if you miss it, which I did once at a gig, it sounds atrocious. So, that being said, pause the video if you need to. If not, we will go to the next slide. So this 11th fret on the G, can you see how it's bent a tone and a half? So you're bending this note so much so that it sounds like the 14th fret. Now, always make sure that you bend this note up, otherwise you might run out of runway going down. And I think 9 times out of 10, you should always bend a note up rather than down. So bending that 11, and basically bend it, you always want to bend that a little bit further than you think. You're not going to snap a string, it's too thick. Followed by 9th fret, and then a regular 11. I'm then going to do a position shift to the 7th fret of the G, and I'm going to bend it a half step and resolve to the 9th fret of the D string. That's the first bit. Right then, moving on. I've lost my place now. Okay, we're going to bend the 10th fret of the B string. And then hit this root note at the top, bend the 10, 7th fret of the high E, and then we're just gonna quickly play the 10th and the 7th fret of the B string. That's the first bit. Then we're gonna hit this 10 again and we're gonna immediately slide up to the 12. And we're in the Dizzying Heights of second position minor pentatonic here, okay? So we're sliding from the 10 into the 12, and then we're going to catch the 10th fret with the index finger of the high E string. Sorry, I've got that many licks swimming around my head for this whole thing. It's just taken me a minute to remember which bit it was. Right, so we'll slide from the 10 into the 12, 10th fret of the high E string, then we're going to play this 10th fret on the B, which initially confused me. And you see how I'm rolling back up? And then I'm going to go 12, 11, 10, position shift. Cool little sort of bit of chromatics in it. Let me play both of them together. So you've got... Now this 10th fret here, it's really easy to miss that 10th fret on the B here. It's more of a ghost note than anything else. If you miss it out, it doesn't really feel like it's missing much, but it just catches it on the way past. Right, one more slide and then I'm having a cup of tea, and I suggest that you do too. So, take a screenshot if you need to, if not. Right then, so this bit we start getting up to the dusty end now, okay, and there's quite a lot of bends and there's a lot in it, but you'll find it's a lot of the same thing. So I'm moving from second position up into third now, and I'm going to bend the 14, followed by, bend the 14 on the G, followed by the 12th fret on both the B and the 12th and 15th fret on the B string. Now, here's the crux to this. You're going to play those 3 notes. After you've hit this 15th fret, I want you to do a position shift up 2 frets to catch the 17. And then that 15, you go back to your index finger. We're then going to bend the 17 with like a sort of banjo, a pedal steel lick. You're going to bend it up, and then you're going to catch the high E underneath it and bring it back down. You bring it back down, 15, 17, 15. Practice this first bar first before you go any further. As you get up to, if you're like me and you've got hands the size of shovels, it's really hard to get into these tiny little frets, and it's a good exercise. Moving into the second bar, if you're ready for it, we're going to bend the 17. We're going to do a chromatic run on the high E string, 15, 16, 17. Again. We're then going to bend the 17 on the high E, and then quickly move to the B string and do a pre-bend on that 17 and bring it down. So I'm bending the 17 on the high E, then doing a pre-bend on the 17 in the B and bringing it down. It's quite hard to do in isolation. That's what we're going. And then you're going to hit that 15, that 17. And then you're going to do a quick pull off between the 17 and the 15. Right, so now, did you hear at the very end over here? Those notes are semiquavers. It's at the very end, yeah? Completely made the balls of that. Pause if you need to. Right, we're about, well, I don't know. We're not quite 50% of the way there, but maybe 40% of the way there. I'm gonna make a cup of tea, I'll come right back soon. Right, coffee has been consumed, let's get back to work. So, we have just done, we're now going into this part, okay, which is, we're gonna bend the 17th fret. That's what we're going for to start with. So I'm gonna bend the 17th fret of the B string, and then I'm gonna catch the 17th of the high E, and I'm doing down, up, up. So both those 17s on the high E I'm doing with upstrokes. Followed by 2 more bends. And then I'm going to bend the 17 without catching the other string. I'm going to bend the 17 and then pull off to the 15. And then I actually had my blinders on there. Can you see how it does the same thing again? And just just reading ahead a little bit, we're now going to go to the 17 and do a really big bend there. Pause if you need to. If not, let's go to slide number 2. And there's that 17 all the way over here, look, yeah? We're going to bend that 17. And that actually belongs to the previous lick. So you know, like we've done with the PDF that you can download, it might be worth just attaching that onto the previous lick if you want. Right, we are now going from here, this bend on the 12. So we're going back to second position, and we're going to do 2 quick bends. Tone and a half bends, mind. Between the 12th fret of the B, and then we're going to catch the 10th fret of the high E. I'm then going to play the 11th fret of the B. And I'm not bending, I'm not sliding that far. I'm playing it, and I'm probably stopping around here, around the 7th fret. And then with the middle finger and the index finger, I want to catch the 9th fret and the 8th fret of the D string. And then I'm going to catch the 11th of the B string and give it loads of vibrato. Pause if you need to. If not, let's do a little bit more. Staying in second position, we're going to play. Now, I've had to notate this a little bit weird. All these 12s are bent, but can you see how we start at a full bend, then a half bend, then a quarter bend? What that means is I'm going to bend this note a full tone, and I'm going to keep picking it. Can you hear how I'm gradually letting it down? Imagine that you're letting the air out of a balloon. And what you're going to do is you're going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and... So we're picking semiquavers, and we're going to go 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a... So we're only picking the first 3 beats of the bar. So think of it as you're doing 4 full bends, 4 half bends, 4 quarter bends, and then around here, where the pull-off is, you've got pull-off between 12 and 10 on the high E, 12th fret on the B, 12th fret on the high E again, so I'm doing that rocking the finger, and then I'm going to play that 10, and I'm just going to quickly bend it out of tune. Then over here, sorry, he says over here, 12th fret of the B, followed by the 10. Then middle finger to the 11th fret of the G, and I'm going to slide down to 9, and then catch the 9. Then I'm going to work my way back up, 9, 7, 11. Now it's really important that I play that 11 with the middle finger because I want to catch the 10 behind it on the B string. Now I know we're not strictly sliding into that 11th fret, but I think it sounds pretty cool. It's one of those like 3 note per string kind of things where you're spanning 2 different pentatonic shapes. So I'll leave it up to you what you think's the best fingering for you to play that, okay? That 9th fret is a lead into the next lick. So let's just shelve that for a second and start from the very beginning over here. You see how I'm doing a lot of the footwork with that middle finger on sliding around on the G string, yeah? Okay, pause if you need to. If not, we're going back to first position B minor pentatonic. We're going to bend this 9. And then we are going... Not there, James. There. So we're bending the 9. Then this is a pentatonic sequence, and it's one of those where you might want to put it in your practice routine for a couple of days on the trot and sort of get it quite mechanical. That's the only way I got it under my fingers. So we're going 7/7 with the index finger. Then we've got 10th fret on the B and 9th fret on the G. And then I'm going to do 7/7 on the B and the G, 9/9 on the G and then the B. What I'd do is I'd get a pencil, get the PDF, and with the pencil score out groups of 4, because we're working in groups of 4 for this. 7, 7, 10, 9, 7, 7, 9, 9. Whenever you've got 2 notes on top of each other, make sure you're doing that rolling the finger thing, yeah? Now, after you've hit those 9s, you're going to catch the 7th fret of the G, and then we're going to do a string skip up to the A string. Can you see how there's a gap? Now, this is the bit that caught me out with this. Really over-exaggerate that motion so that you don't catch the D by mistake, and make sure you are actually hitting that A string, because you can hit the D and it doesn't sound bad. And I'm hitting that with my ring finger. I'm then going back to the 7th fret of the D with the index finger. Now it's got this cool little sort of like legato part in it. So after you've played that 7 on the D string, you're going back to that 9 on the A. I'm going to slide into the 7 with the ring finger. I'm going to pick the 5 with the index finger. I'm then going to pick the 7 again and slide back in. Now it makes sense for you to do. Make sure you're using your ring finger there. So remember, we've got the 9 before. And then we're going to finish over here. Everything's backwards, it really confuses me sometimes. This 7th fret on the D. Then over here in the second bar, we have got the 7th fret. We're doing the same again, 7, 7 on the B and the high E and the B. We're then going to pull off from 10 to 7. And then we're working back down that minor pentatonic shape. 7, 7, pull off from the 10 to the 7, bend the 9 and then pull off to the 7 on the G. Now that 7 at the very end is part of that bit, which we're going to get to in a second. Let's recap this bar. Pause if you need to. I think this is one of the trickier parts to get in your fingers, because there's no sort of distinct pattern. You've got to keep kind of learning a couple of notes and bolting it on. Whenever I see people play this in cover bands, they always kind of just make that bit up, and I can see why now upon reflection that it's a bit of a tricky passage, but that's what we're here to do. We're here to get it under his fingers and do it properly, aren't we? So pause the video if you need to. If not, let's move on to the next bit, and you've got that 7th fret on the G. That's really important, because we're going to go from 7 on the G to the 9th fret of the G, and give it loads of vibrato, and that's where the harmony's coming in again. We're going to pick the 9 again. Then you got 7, 8, 7, 7, 7, 9. Now, we can't play this. I'll come back to that slide in a second. We struggle to play that and it sound exactly like the record because it's harmonies. There's guitars laid on top of each other. The backing track that there's a cool backing track that I'll put in the description where the reciprocal harmonies to all these parts have been put into that backing track, and it's really good fun to play along to. So have a go with that, but you're gonna... It doesn't sound wrong, but it doesn't sound as grand as the record, but we can't be in two places at the same time. Unless somebody knows something that I don't. So, playing the 7 from the previous bar, 9, loads of vibrato, pick the 9 again, 7th fret of the B, 8th fret of the B, 7th fret of the B. And again, we're in bar 2 now, loads of vibrato, 7, move down a string. Right, folks, home stretch. So we're now into the sort of harmonised. We're into that part, and I just wanted to sort of let's just have a breather and talk about that section and how it works. So these are all arpeggios outlining the chords that the band's playing underneath it. And again, this is a harmonised section. So it's going to sound great you playing that over a backing track, but it sound even better if you had a buddy to play this with as well. Now, the backing track I've linked in the description has all of the harmonies already attached to it, so that's going to really help you. Now, the way that the Eagles play this is, this pattern that I'm going to give you over 4 slides is repeated twice, but on the second repetition of it, the record starts to fade out. Now, that's not very helpful for people like me that go out and play. We can't fade out in a live situation. So what I've done before with bands before, and this backing track that I've linked does the same thing. The 4 slides that I'm going to give you, we are going to repeat twice. And once you get to the end of the second repetition, the sort of unspoken rule of playing this in pubs and clubs is you'll play a B power chord, da 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 da. You'll play 3 quick B power chords, which is on the 7th fret of the low E and the 9th fret of the A string. That's how every band I've ever played that in, that's how we finish it. So you get to the... And that's how most people tend to finish it. Either's fine, but I don't want you getting to the end of the Eagles record and like, well, James asked me to do more. So, right, let's get into it. So, we are, each of these slides, there's 4 slides in total, and all of them have 2 arpeggios. So we're going to start with this one, which is on the 14th fret of the high E, and we're going to pull off to the 10th fret. Now, you can use your middle finger, your pinky and your index finger for those. I use my, I like to use my ring finger. So I'm going to pull off between those 2 notes, and then I'm going to resolve with the middle finger to the 12th fret of the B string. And we're working in groups of 3. And we've got 5 of those, 5 groups of 3. I'm then going to move down to 12 and 9, and then I'm going to play the 11th fret. Now that sounds quite abrasive. It's meant to be like that, and you'll see in the next slide it resolves itself. Now you only do 2.5 repetitions of that, because what you're going to do after you've gone 12, 9, 11, 12, 9, 11, 12, 9. You're going to play the 12 again, but then you're going to bend, sorry, not going to bend. I am absolutely not going to bend that. You'd never get there. We're going to slide from the 12th fret up to the 18. Now I find that really challenging, because you're going from such a quick, fast-moving part up to just one note, and if you overcook it, doesn't sound right, it sounds horrible. We play both parts. Pause if you need to. If not, let's move on. Now, this is one whole, it just descends down the neck with the exception of the last part, which sort of moves its way back up. So what we're going to do, we were playing 12, 9 and 11 in the previous slide. This time, it's exactly the same motion, except instead of playing the 11th fret on the B, we're going to play the 10th fret instead. So we're pulling off from 12 to 9, and then we're going to play. See how that's much more harmonious? So you've got... Sometimes it's only one note that moves in these arpeggios. So we've got 5 of those, pulling off from 12 to 9 with the downstroke, and then with an upstroke, I'm playing that 10th fret with my middle finger. We're going to do 5 of those. Then I'm going to move, do a position shift down 2 frets, and I'm going to play 10 to 7, and then 9th fret. I don't know if you noticed in the previous 3 arpeggios we've gone from 11 to 10 to 9 on that B string, and it's all part of this movement down the neck, okay? So we've got 10, 7, 9. And again we do 2.5 of those. 10, 7, 9. 10, 7, 9. 10, 7. And we're going to play the 10 again, but instead of sliding up to 18 this time, we're going to slide to 16. Let me play that whole bar for you. Pause if you need to. If not, I can smell it. We're nearly there. So we're pulling off now from 10 to 7 again. But instead of 9, you guessed it, we're going to 8. We're doing 5 of those again. So pull off from 10 to 7, either pinky or ring finger to the index, and then middle finger on the 8th fret. Now this next one is a bit of a bugger, I'm not going to lie. We're going to keep the pinky on the 10th fret, but we're going to pull off between the 10th fret and the 5th fret. Now, I don't know if you saw that. When I went to play that, I sort of moved in my chair a little bit to raise the neck of the guitar. And whenever I've got a big stretch, the best bit of advice I can give you is push your wrist down and pull the neck of the guitar up. And we're going to do pull off from 10 to 5, 7th fret with the middle finger, and we're going to do that again. Then you're going to pull off one last time between 10 and 5, and then you're going to slide from 10 up to 14. Did you hear I overcooked that a little bit? That's the only motion in this where the initial note that you pull off from doesn't move, okay? And I find that quite... Out of all of these that I play when I've been practicing this week, that's the one that I forget. Even though how can I forget that ginormous stretch? I find I go to that one before the previous one. Right, last bar. So again, we've got this ginormous stretch, but it's not as medieval, but it's still pretty wide. We're going to pull off from 7 on the high E to the 3rd fret of the high E, and his B string note is going to be that 5th fret. Now this is the lowest point we'll go in the arpeggios, because the next one comes up with a view to starting all over again. So 5 of those. We're then going to move up 9th fret. We're going to pull off between 9 and 6. And the resolution of the arpeggio is that 7th fret there. 2.5 of those. And then we're sliding all the way back up to that 14th fret. Now that's convenient, that, because that's where you start again. what you'll do there, you'll play that sequence twice, and then, like I said, finish like that, okay? Right, breathe, we're done, it's all over. Thank you so much for watching that, and thank you so much for the support on the channel. I want to do some more of these longer videos. If you've got any suggestions, please do let me know in the comments. And as always, I will see you next week for another lead electric guitar lesson. Thank you so much, I really do appreciate it.